Christian, dinner's ready.
Yeah, I'll be there in a sec.
Episode 5, man, come on, you can figure it out. Sando, do you have the answers? Oh, of course not, you're not real, bloody hell. So if the man is carrying the thing, what is the thing that he's...
Most things that I intended for you to figure out, you did, and some that I didn't intend you to figure out, you also did.
But Sando, are there more Easter eggs? Is there more to find? Am I onto something here?
Yes, there are a bunch of Easter eggs. There are a ton of them, but there's no way you can figure out what they are. So.
Now, you listen here, Sanderson. My subscribers are wanting an answer, and I'm going to find it. And even if you don't want me to, I'm going to get to the...
Christian, what are you doing in there?
I'll be a second. I'm just talking to a friend.
Let's do it again.
Hey guys, it's Christian from Lost in Discovery, and welcome back to the series where we are searching for the ending of the Stormlight Archive. We're looking at death rattles, foreshadowing, interludes, any little bit of information we can get to look into the future like our boy Taravangian and get a glimpse about what could happen, future events, and maybe, if we're lucky, the ending. Today's episode revolves around one death rattle, and this death rattle has sparked many series in the Stormlight Archive community. Now we are going to look at one of those series in particular, but I am going further than any fan has gone before. We are in uncharted waters, and this is the place you want to be to get the most tinfoil and cutting edge theories. The theory we are going to be exploring today is the baby champion theory. Let's have a look at the death rattle. I hold the suckling child in my hands, a knife at his throat, and know that all who live wish me to let the blade slip, spill its blood upon the ground, over my hands, and with it gain us further breath to draw. So let's examine why this death rattle has sparked the baby champion theory in the first place. So the scene describes somebody holding a suckling child in their hands with a knife at its throat. They're under the impression that if they kill this child, they will gain all living things further breath to draw. So it presents a situation where it's the end of the world as we know it, or as close to the end as we can imagine, and they need to do this in order to save all living things. Now, if you watched last week's episode, you would see we spoke about the Night of Sorrows. We believe that this is going to be an event where Rosha is consumed by dust and destroyed upon itself. Now, remember this imagery of dust and destruction because this plays into this episode quite heavily. And I should say now, please do go check out the earlier episodes to get a full context about what we're doing here. Now, in the context of this character having to kill a child, many people have come to the conclusion that this will be Odium's champion. He will choose a child in order for the heroes to have no chance but to give up. So let's rewind a bit and have a look at the terms and conditions that have been applied to this trial so we can fully break down what's going on here. So at the end of Rhythm of War, before Taravangian takes up the shard of Odium, Dalinar talks to its previous owner, Reyes, and they set up the terms of this battle of champions that will happen in 10 days' time. To summarize it, they must put forth a willing champion each that will battle on the top of Urithiru, and the winner will take all. If Dalinar's side wins, he gets the lands back that Odium has taken over, and Odium is restricted to the Rosharian system. If Odium wins, he keeps what he has gained, as well as Alethkar. Even though he is still tied to the system, he makes Dalinar a fused, and Dalinar is his personal slave that he can send throughout the Cosmere to do his bidding. Pretty dire stakes if you ask me. Even with this said though, I believe it could end up a lot worse, and there are always ways that Brandon shows us loopholes and twists and turns, and this is actually addressed very soon after. Almost immediately after this scene, we see Taravangian kill Reyes and take up the Shard of Odium. And Taravengian immediately goes through like Razor's most recent files on his Odium system and sees what's been happening. And he's looking at the terms that him and Dalinar have gone through for this context. And he is completely insulted, like, what kind of a deal is this? How could you even be putting yourself in this situation where it's a potential to lose? And Taravengian almost starts to panic a little, thinking this is a really bad situation he's in. But as he looks a bit closer, he realizes that there are loopholes. He realizes the subtle differences and the nuances that he can use. And he says to himself that Dalinar has doomed himself and he is surely going to win. Now, if you could think of any character in the Stormlight Archive who is most likely to kill children or a small amount of people to save a large amount in their eyes, who else could it be but our boy Taravodium? Now, what makes this so beautiful is this has been Taravangian's modus operandum since the first page. He has always been of the thought that you need to sacrifice few to save many. We've seen it with his Death Rattle Hospital, we've seen it with his deal with the previous Odium saying just save Kharbranth and whatever. Like, this guy is willing to sacrifice to further himself. And what makes it even better is this is the philosophy debate that he and Dalinar have been having over many scenes throughout the Stormlight Archive, so we know it makes poetic sense in a writing manner. So when you're at this point, you start to think, what candidates do we have here for a baby champion? Now, I know the Death Rattle says suckling babe, but we've seen in previous Death Rattles sometimes men can also refer to women. There are slight differences that end up being red herrings. So I believe suckling child just means young person or inexperienced person. So we're rolling with that. So that leaves two main children who are main characters in the Stormlight Archive. We have Oridon, which is Kaladin's younger brother, and we have Gavinor, which is Elhokar's son. Now, Oridon I ruled out pretty quickly. I looked into some evidence, but I don't believe the story is going in this direction. We know Dalinar has put himself up as his champion and he's not sending Kaladin no way. So I don't think using Kaladin's brother would make as much sense as it could using Gavinor. Now, we have one Death Rattle that could suggest it is Oridon. We have someone weeping over their brother, but I don't believe that Kaladin is going to be involved in this scene, and I don't believe that Sanderson would go as dark to have Kaladin involved in the death of his brother, which led me to investigate Gavinor, and I found an overwhelming amount of evidence to back this up, so do stick around because I ain't done here, man. We're just getting started. So Gavinor has been through so much trauma. We have so much exploration of this, and Sanderson has done it in a very intriguing way, especially throughout Rhythm of War. Gavinor gets extensive development throughout the entire novel. During his time in Kholinar, he was going through hell. He was manipulated, tortured by the Unmade, interrogated and messed with by the Voidsprite. This kid has been through horrifying things and his mind is completely jumbled and messed up. And when he finally reunites and meets his father is killed right before his eyes by Moash. Moash, R.I.P. Elhokar. And this is basically the crux of Gavinor's character, and it is explored wonderfully throughout Rhythm of War. Dalinar is often playing with him and he's trying to rekindle a relationship with his family that he missed out in the earlier years of his life with Adolin and Renarin. But we quickly notice that Gavinor is not a regular child. He's way more solemn and serious, and when other children want to stay up and play, he's complaining that he wants to go to bed and he's tired. He is hungry for revenge. He always wants a sword in his hand. He explicitly states that he wants to be the one who kills Moash to avenge his father because he is an evil man. He confuses evil with his mother, thinking his mother was evil. It's all jumbled in his head. Whilst Navani is watching over Gavinor, she noticed that he's way smaller than other children his age. Her and doctors and nurses are unable to ascertain whether he was manipulated even more physically by the Unmade or the Voidsprite. So we have a child that is hungry for revenge, that has been manipulated and messed up mentally to a point that he is unlike any other child in the story. Are you starting to see how this could be twisted by Taravangian? Now, we know that Gavinor would no way fight against Dalinar or his family. Of course he wouldn't. But if Taravangian does his classic, we're going to save the world, we're going to have a battle that's going to help you save everyone on this planet, What child would turn that down? What child who's desperate to be a Knights Radiant, who's desperate to be a Windrunner and a hero to everyone and to avenge his father, wouldn't do this? So I believe Taravangian is going to use his sneaky bastard of a personality to get Gavanor to be his champion. And when faced with this impossible scenario, inevitably Dalinar and the Radiants will not be able to kill this child. And there is evidence to support this. The death rattle from last episode. So the night will reign, for the choice of honor is life. The night of sorrows will reign. The dust that is destroying the planet will reign, because the choice of honor is life, to let Gavanor live. So the reign of Odium will continue because the Radiants aren't able to do it. But, and there's always a but, I believe Gavanor will die. And I believe Szeth will be the one to do it. And I know that sounds like an outrageous claim here, but have I ever said anything without backing it up with evidence? Let's do this. Now, because Szeth is Dalinar's bodyguard, we get plenty of scenes of him watching over Gavanor throughout Rhythm of War. Now, if you read these scenes, you start to get a sense that this is much more than it seems, and there is a lot of evidence to foreshadow future events here. Firstly, Szeth is watching Gavanor start to laugh a bit more and play with Dalinar. He really understands what this child has been through and empathizes with him quite a lot. He has a weird distance kind of relationship and respect for this child and knows that he's going through a lot. But during this scene, when he hears Gavanor's laughter, he gets very uncomfortable, and Nightblood picks up on this and starts to ask him why. Szeth says that this laughter frightens him because he knows it's going to be taken away. He knows it's going to be stolen from him, this innocence of youth, and Szeth is probably projecting his own experiences on this child also. But he elaborates saying the laughter frightens him because he himself is near and he is completely unstable and should not be trusted with this child. But he does not want to tell Dalinar this. Now, is this because he has an urge to ease the child's suffering before it goes because he empathizes with him? We know that Szeth is not stable whatsoever, so it's completely reasonable to think that he could jump to some twisted logic like this. But there's actually more evidence to support this. And that comes, of course, in the form of a death rattle. So the death rattle reads, "A man stood on a cliffside and watched his homeland fall into dust. The water surged beneath, so far beneath, and he heard a child crying. They were his own tears." Now I believe the man on the cliff, watching his homeland fall into dust through the night of sorrows, is Szeth. And I believe the child's tears he is hearing is Gavanor. Allow me to explain. Why I believe that this is Szeth watching his homeland fall into dust is in the only time that Szeth reminisces of his homeland, actually in the scene where he is watching over Gavanor, he remembers the cliffs. He refers to beautiful white cliffs that he used to hang out on overlooking his homeland. So standing on a cliff, watching a homeland being destroyed checks out. Now, what other character hears the voices in their head of the people they have killed? Szeth. And where is Szeth set up to go throughout Stormlight Archive 5? His homeland, Shinovar. He is the one hearing the child's cries, and he himself is crying because of the horrible thing he has had to do in order to save the world. And the first 5-book arc ends as it began, with the assassin in white killing the Alethi king, sparing this child of the trauma that Szeth had to go through, living a lie and living a bloody existence, and tying up the first arc of the Stormlight Archive in a complete loop of a narrative. Now, does that mean Odium's going to win completely? Well, I'm not sure, because I really do subscribe to the fact that there will be a complete lack of Stormlight going into book 6 and further on. And I believe that will be a huge narrative question about how our heroes are going to progress in the story. There is so much poetic justice here, the loop of the killing of the Alethi king, the relationship between Dalinar, Szeth, and Taravangian, and Gavinor. It all plays together so beautifully and actually weaves a more personal and tragic story for the Stormlight Archive. It takes away the anonymity of this god Odium and Raze. It makes it a more personal touch and a most tragic ending to the first arc. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this episode. It's probably the biggest one yet. I apologize for taking longer on this video, but it really needed more time and attention to detail, and I also needed to step back a little bit because I was getting a bit overloaded with all the Stormlight Archive research and lore. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, there's plenty on the channel, and I'll see you guys all in my next video. Bye.